Michael and Judy Muldawer. And you're gonna teach us the Lindy in a little bit, right?
Yeah, not for me.
Anyway, they're gonna dive into the Roaring Twenties and tell you some history, and then we have music out there so you can play. So turn it over to you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
So welcome. Before we get started, if you're sitting in the back, you might not be able to hear us. So if you want to move forward, there are a few seats. Also, I'm going to ask for a volunteer at some point who would like to play the washboard.
Right here.
So just think about it, because we would really like you to do that. So I'm going to let Michael begin because he had a really good starting sentence for
We
this.
would give them some house rules.
House rules.
If anybody wants to sing along or play along, if you have an instrument, I just see 1, 2. The basic rule is feel free to sing along if you know the words and preferably the melody.
Yeah.
So those two. And let's see, anything else?
Well, you all should have a songbook. If you don't have one, Slim, raise your hand. He's got a stack of them
I
here.
got a stack.
Come and get them.
There you go.
So we're going to play these songs in no particular order, and just to start with that, the title of the presentation is the Roaring Twenties. And the 20s really fit into a nice decade kind of delineation in that it started far from roaring. It started with a significant, deep recession, in part after the initial glow where the doughboys came back from World War I. There was a little spike, and then things really went downhill. So when the 20s began, you had a president who, Woodrow Wilson, who essentially was not mentally in good shape. He was he had suffered a significant stroke. He was bedridden, and he did not communicate. Had no cabinet meetings. His wife was the president. There seemed to be no question. Edith Wilson was president until Woodrow, until Warren Harding took over. In those days, the transfer of power was in March of 1921. And soon after, the economy kicked into high gear, stayed that way through the 20s until, I guess it was called Black Tuesday, October 29th, 1929, when the stock market went downhill. But in between, we had the speakeasies. We had the very end of 1919. You had passage of the 18th, 19th Amendments, so women could vote, but they couldn't drink. Nobody supposedly could drink. And but the music was great. Not quite as sophisticated as the music that came into the 30s. We're going to do some representative tunes. We're going to do one. I guess we're going to begin with, I guess it was late in the 20s, with a tune that...
And for those of you who just came in, we do have song books. Slim, raise your
Do we have enough of them?
Yeah, we've got some more
For the musicians.
here, so I'll let you pass them back for those who want to sing along or want to take them home and play the music.
And by the way, most of the tunes we're going to play today should be relatively familiar, unless you're 25 years old or something.
Is there anybody here who's 25? Times 3?
Yeah. And the one reason why these tunes, a lot of them are familiar, many of them were re-recorded typically during the 1950s. They became popular again. So when we were growing up, these are tunes we heard, or you could have heard them from your mother or father playing the piano and singing, or your grandparents. So
I think we have some competition.
Okay.
We'll try to talk loudly.
Okay,
Okay, we're
so-
gonna play one from 1926 that was made much more popular in the early 50s, and we'll explain why after we finish playing it. And it's called, for those of you who know how to do alphabetical order, it begins with a B in your book, breeze in along with the breeze. So if you want to sing along, but we always do the verses. Nobody seems to know the verses, but we do. Hopefully, we have competition. Here we go.
I've been your rover since I was a child. No one could walk care for me. Knocked around all over, time grew up wild. My home is wherever I may be. I'm just cruising along the breeze. Birds that sing in the trees, pleasing the wind, letting them bleed. The sky is the only roof I have over my head. I'm just going along as I please, breezing along with the breeze.
Nobody earthly wondering where I'd be. I'm going, but no one's missing me. Nobody like the bird flying, just like the bird I'm flying.
I'm just breezing along with the breeze, trailing away, roaming the sea. Like birds that sing in the trees, pleasing the wind, letting them bleed. But the sky is the only roof I have over my head.
And when I'm weary, Mother Nature takes me a bed.
I'm just going along as I please, breezing along with the breeze, breezing along with the breeze.
So you might wonder, I don't think anybody in this room was born in 1926. How many of you knew that song? Well, I'm going to tell you why you most likely knew it. In the early 50s, Lucy and Desi were in a movie, and it was called The Long Trailer.
Oh, funniest movie ever made.
And Lucy had Desi buy this long yellow trailer that attached to their car. And of course, being Lucy, she had him driving through these winding roads. And she did so many daffy things, like needed to get a rock collection. So she picked up these rocks along the road and she put them in the trailer. And every time the trailer went up the hill, the rocks went that way. And throughout the entire movie, you heard breezing along with the breeze. You can watch that sometimes on Turner Classics.
Yeah, one other point. We began with the verses. I don't know if everybody knows the distinction, but your typical song, virtually every one, and you can look at the sheet music, has what begins with a verse. Sometimes there will be multiple verses, but the familiar melody, it's usually much more melodic than the verse. The one that people would walk out of the theater kind of whistling or humming would be called the chorus or the refrain. And so that was the familiar part. The others, I have been a rover since I was a child. That's a verse. And by the way, when you look at the words of the song, they're really talking about, I guess in those days, what they called hobos. Today they call them what do they call them now? What's the euphemism?
Homeless?
Not homeless, actually.
Abode challenged.
So, but that's what we're talking about. The only home I have, the only roof I have over my head is the sky kind of thing. Okay, want to do jump into beginning of the decade, 1920.
Oh, 1920. Yeah, that's a good place to start.
And this is Eddie Cantor's.
I assume everybody has heard of Eddie Cantor. Is there anyone who does not know who Eddie Cantor was? Oh, good. Everybody here is over 25. I know. So Eddie Cantor had 5 daughters and a wife. He had 6 women in his family telling him what to do, I guess, because that's what we gals like to do. His wife's name was Ida, and you can imagine what song was written for her. We're not doing that one. But he had 5 daughters. There was Marilyn, I have to memorize these, Janet, Edna, what am I missing? Natalie, did I do Natalie? And Margie. And guess what
song named for one of the daughters?
We're going to do a song named for one of the daughters. Can you guess what it would be? Margie, written in 1920, and you can find that alphabetically in your book. And in the song, Eddie Cantor would sometimes ad-lib, or he'd just make up words as he went. And one of the parodies, let's say it's a parody he wrote, was about getting drunk. And it says, if he drinks too much liquor, he'll get shicker, which is a Yiddish word meaning you had too much to drink. So that is in the song, and we're going to do it with the verses. Are we ready?
Yeah, the parody is not part of the original sheet music, but these guys perform these songs on vaudeville, and very often they would add the funny stuff. And so
I think they got bored, and so they started making. You know how we all make up songs, parodies.
that song? A TV show, right? Yeah, Gail Storm, was it? Yeah. And it was called My Little Margie, wasn't it?
That was a good show.
Yeah.
Since Michael's in charge of the set list, that's why I keep looking at him. Where are we going from here?
Okay,
we
could do
something
the,
about his other daughter, Marilyn, before we get to, let's do that.
you want to do that?
Yeah, and so this is a ukulele, which was very popular in the 20s. In fact, if you look at this sheet music that we have on the front, you're certainly welcome to come up and look at it after we're finished. You'll see that oftentimes, and I guess in all of the sheet music, they have ukulele chord shapes in addition to the piano music. The sheet music has, the notes, but they have ukulele chords. The ukulele was the second most popular instrument in the 20s, second only to the piano. Even the poorest homes had a piano. Everybody would plunk out stuff on the piano. But the ukulele was extremely popular in the 20s. And this is obviously a wooden ukulele. But there were ukulele orchestras and banjo orchestras because the banjo sound would carry much better than a guitar. And you'll see why. I've even stuffed this one with foam rubber because it's so loud if I don't. And you can't sing over it very well. But if you're just playing an instrumental and you're trying to drown out the trombones or whatever else is playing in the orchestra, this is really loud. So we're going to do a medley of
So when you think of 1920s and kind of music, you think of this kind of snappy stuff that you would Charleston do. By the way, if anybody here wants to get up in Charleston,
I would like to get up in Charleston, but I can't.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to, one of the songs that's in here, we're going to talk about afterwards that actually has a relationship to Eddie Cantor's, a different Eddie Cantor daughter. So don't let me forget.
Okay.
So we're just going to do 3 different Charlestons, and I'm going to do something called blue blowing. Does anybody know what that is? Well, you might hate it, but you'll hear me. It's sort of like...
It's like playing kazoo without all the charm.
I'm leaving. Okay. Go for it, Michael. You'll know these. We're just playing the choruses, not the verses.
Yeah,
to
that's
these.
true.
this song. Think of a little wind-up toy. Eddie Cantor's daughter Marilyn had a little pink wind-up pig, and she would wind it up with the key. And we all had those little toys, you remember? And the legs would sort of go together and come apart, and it would go shh, 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 shh. Yes, sir, that's my baby. Yes, sir. And
Sounds
so,
like cha-cha.
so Marilyn's playing with her little wind-up pig, and Gus Kahn was at the house. Gus Kahn was the lyricist eventually for this song, and he liked that rhythm. And he sat down at the piano, even though he was a lyricist. I wasn't there, I'm just reading this in a book, so I'm repeating what I read. And he started playing, Yes, Sir, That's My Baby. So now we have two songs. We have Margie and Yes, Sir, That's My Baby. And if he had many more daughters, we might have more songs. So I guess, can I put this thing down there? We're going to play.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I
okay.
think so. So Gus Kahn ended up talking to Eddie Cantor about the song. He said, "You think a nice Jewish boy like me making all this money from a wind-up pig?" Now, not all the music in the 20s was all snappy. There were some of the great ballads that were written. This was also when Gershwin was starting. Irving Berlin was sort of every decade. He was the master, and he adapted his music to the times. But not all the music was this kind of Charleston type. We're going to do a nice ballad which has kind of Hawaiian origins in its motivation. It's there was a Pan American Exposition in I think about 1918, and it introduced the ukulele and Hawaiian type music to America. And that's when the ukulele just took off. The Tin Pan Alley composers, though, they wrote their own brand of Hawaiian style music, and we're going to do one of the better ones from, again, late 20s. Most of the songs we're doing seem to be from about 25, 26,
This is
27.
also Gus Kahn, the person
Kahn.
who did Yes Sir, That's My Baby. And also Richard Whiting wrote the music, and it's called Ukulele Lady. It starts with the letter U, for those of you who are alphabetically
By the way,
challenged.
Richard Whiting was largely forgotten today. He wrote so many good songs. His daughter was Margaret Whiting. If anybody remembers a singer from the 40s, 50s.
And a lot of, Michael and I knew this song because, I knew it because we used to listen to a band called the Jim Weston Jug Band. And
This is where we first heard it.
that's where we first heard it. And then my kids learned it in the early 70s because Miss Piggy sang it on Sesame Street. And you can go back on YouTube and find clips of her, I guess, singing this one. I saw the splendor of the moonlight on Honolulu Bay. There's something tender in the light on Honolulu Bay. And all the beaches are full of peaches. They bring their youths along. I just can't remember.
Mhm.
And they're all great, but this one is just one that we really have always enjoyed. So where are we next?
So we've been talking about dances.
Oh, dances.
And the Charleston, and so we might as well do the original Charleston, which was, it was published in 1923, but it has a kind of an interesting story. James P. Johnson, anybody know that name? The father of stride piano. He kind of taught Fats Waller how to play, and he was playing maybe a decade earlier, say early 10s, and he's playing in a saloon in New York City, which was only a few blocks from the waterfront. And it was frequented by a lot of stevedores, longshoremen, and many of whom were from South Carolina, particularly Charleston. And they did this really new kind of dance to the music, and he was fascinated by it. So he wrote a bunch of songs that he called Charlestons. He wrote about 8 of them. And now we go to year 1923. He and Cecil Mack, who was his lyricist, were putting together a Black Broadway show. And they decided to take one of the Charlestons. The one we're familiar with is what they picked. And Cecil Mack wrote some lyrics to it, which are rarely performed. We're going to try them. And the other thing that's interesting about it
mentions some other dances in it.
Yeah, Judy will tell you about those.
He mentions the foxtrot, which was very popular in the 20s, the buck and wing, and I think Black Bottom, is that it?
I don't think, no,
We do another song that talks about Black Bottom.
Black Bottom was sort of the song in the later 20s, kind of didn't replace the Charleston, but it kind of added on to it.
So what, was there something else you wanted to
Yeah,
say?
the beginning doesn't sound anything at all like the chorus. Yeah.
No, not at all,
It's kind of slow and
but we'll get faster, and if, once again, anybody who wants to attempt to do the Charleston, we'd love to see you. And anybody who wants to play the washboard.
Can't she? She can't sing, but she can Charleston.
Oh, we're not gonna put you on the spot, but anybody who wants to play the washboard, I got these real neat thimbles for it that don't fall off, because you can adjust them. So don't be shy, we could really use a washboard player at some point. That's an authentic 1920s washboard. Okay, here we go. It starts out real slowly. Carolina, at last they got you on the map with the new tune, honey blue tune, with a peculiar snap. You may not be able to buck or wing, foxtrot, two-step, or even sing. Make religion, make your feet, you can do this dance and do it neat.
Charleston, made in Carolina. Some dance, I'll say there's nothing like
Charleston, Lord, how you can shuffle.
every step leads to something.
Man, I'm telling you, it's a opposite.
Buck dance, we'll be back on
But Charleston, big Charleston, that dance is surely covered sometime. You'll dance it one time. It's called Charleston. It's South Carolina.
made in Carolina. Some dance, I'll say we'll be back on
Sometime you'll dance it one time. It's called Charleston. It's South Carolina.
Now, even today, you hear some particularly traditional jazz groups playing, they will use the term, let's Charleston that number. And we're talking about a rhythm. It was, and that's a Charleston beat, and you'll hear it played even today. And so many of the songs that we would play, including that trio of danceable numbers before, has that kind of beat in it. You know that it occurred after 1923, and because I've never heard any recorded number before that with that rhythm. Okay, let's see.
I think I'd like to do a song that's
What was
talks cynically about marriage.
that? Oh. Okay.
Oh my God, there's only one on the planet.
Now, you have to realize a lot of these songs are love songs that we've been doing. This is a cynical love song.
This is Eddie Cantor, 1928.
It is called Making Whoopee. Now,
Judy will give you a little lecture on that term later.
I'm going to do it before because I already
Okay.
know what we're doing.
Okay.
Yes. Are we making whoopee? No, we're going to sing Making Whoopee. The term whoopee was actually popularized by Walter Winchell. And Walter Winchell, evidently, from what I read on Wikipedia, and I always believe everything I read there, coined a number of words, and he liked the term whoopee to mean having sex. And in his column, his gossip column, he would say, so-and-so, Gloria Swanson and Max Sennett were out making whoopee. Now, you don't know who Gloria Swanson and Max Sennett were, but they're in another song, so that's why I brought those names up. Anyway, this song is called Whoopee. And you probably already know it. Every time I hear the march from Lohengrin, I am always on the outside, looking in. Maybe that is why I sing a funny side when I see a fallen brother take a ride. Weddings make a lot of people sad, but if you're not the groom, it's not so bad. Another bride, another June, another sunny honeymoon, another season, another reason for making whoopee. A lot of shoes, a lot of voice, the groom is nervous, he answers twice. I find it chilling that he's so willing to make whoopee. Picture a little love nest down where the roses swing. Picture that same sweet loneliness of what a year can bring. You wash your dishes, baby clothes, so ambitious, even sews. But don't forget, folks, that's what you get, folks. Another year, or maybe less. What's this I hear? Oh, you can guess. She feels neglected, and he's suspected of making whoopee. She sits alone most every night. He doesn't phone, he doesn't write. He says he's busy, but she says
Is he?
making whoopee. He doesn't make much money, only 5,000 per. Some judge who thinks he's funny says to give 6 to her.
He says, now, Judge, suppose I fail.
The judge says, budge right into jail. You better keep her, you'll find it cheaper than making whoopee. And for what it's worth, $5,000 in 1923 1928 would be about 100,000 today. So he wasn't that poor, but he certainly didn't want to give it all to her.
So that came from a show in 1928 called Whoopi. One of the first Hollywood Technicolor films was they repeated about 1930, and you can watch. You probably can see that on YouTube. Eddie Cantor performed a song in blackface.
So now we're going to talk about Emmett Miller.
Talking about blackface.
I want to tell you about, I have a website called banjojudy.com, and I have recorded several festivals that I've been to lectures, and I actually recorded Adam Swanson discussing Emmett Miller, and it's about a 45-minute lecture, and it's just so wonderful because, has anybody heard of Emmett Miller? Okay, so it's a wonderful thing to listen to. If you go to banjojudy.com, do a search for Emmett Miller, and that lecture will come up. And Emmett Miller, well, Michael can tell you more about.
Well, if you're familiar with the Hank Williams tune, Lovesick Blues, and basically he copied that from Emmett Miller. Same style with the same kind of break in the voice. And Emmett Miller was sort of a cross between ragtime, minstrel performances, and jazz. He surrounded himself with all sorts of really fine jazz musicians. And he introduced the following song that we're going to do. It's called Any Time. And I think it was published originally with 2 words, Any Time, and then became 1 word. But the song was written at 1921. Emmett did it in 1924, at least initially. And it was sort of a modest hit. And it just kind of sat there kind of unknown until a fellow by the name of Eddie Arnold, country music fellow. And I guess in those days everything was country/western. And he recorded in 1947. It became a #1 hit in 1948 on the country western charts. Then, so it went from early kind of jazz, ragtime, Tin Pan Alley to country. And then 4 years later, Eddie Fisher had what they call a crossover hit. So he went from the country to the Tin Pan Alley, early '51. I can't even bear to listen to the
It's
recording.
the worst version
It's
I have
slow.
ever heard.
It's got like 100 strings.
Torture
playing.
yourself. Go on
And
YouTube.
when you hear the song, you say, "This is not a song that
Yeah,
fits that." But he had a big hit with it, so I guess you can't
well,
blame
You're
him.
accounting for taste or lack of it.
I've listened to a lot of the late 40s and early 50s when I've been digitizing all those old 78s. And schmaltz is just the word that I can use to describe the way some of these wonderful songs were presented. But we won't do it in a schmaltzified
Yeah, I'll do a
way.
little bit more like Miller without you.
Okay. He's not going to yodel. Feel free to yodel if you know how.
I think we're gonna have Slim maybe take a break after the first.
Oh,
chorus.
Slim's going to take a break. Okay, good.
We're gonna do it without a verse also, which is
Okay, go for it.
so it's a key of C. Anytime you're feeling lonely, anytime you're feeling blue, anytime you feel downhearted, that will prove your love for me is true.
a song that was popularized by Sophie Tucker. Now, Sophie Tucker had at least 6 decades, probably, as a performer, starting out as a young woman, probably teenager. Mike and I remember seeing her on the Ed Sullivan Show, probably in the 60s.
Either late 50s, early 60s.
And she was not a very good looking woman. I'm being nice, okay? But boy, could she put over a song. And the biggest compliment that I've ever heard about her was from Judy Garland, who told everybody that the way Sophie Tucker taught her to sing is the way she learned to sing and put over a song. And we all know the way Judy Garland could sing and make a song really feel wonderful. And so Sophie Tucker just knew how to do it. She just had that natural talent. But and she was known as the last of the Red Hot Mamas. I don't know why. But here's one from what is this one? It's called You've Got to See Mama Every Night or You Can't See Mama at All. I get to the why.
And picture sort of a little bit of a bump and grind, the way she was sort of like a less attractive Mae West.
Here we go. Remember the second verse, wait a minute. Daddy dear, when you're near, everything's okay. But when you go away, I look around all day. I must know where you go and what makes you gay. I don't want to share my love with another turtle dove. Everybody, you got
thing we love about the 20s music, a lot of it was pretty humorous. And it didn't take themselves too seriously, at least not the tunes we picked out there. How about another one that, to demonstrate that we're not here merely to entertain you, but also to educate you. And so we're going to give you some great health advice from the 1920s. I think it was 1928. And so you might get pencil and paper. You might even want to jot down some notes about how.
Do not take him seriously. This is one that was popularized by Helen Kane. Helen Kane had like a 3-year popularity during the Tin Pan Alley 20s era. My guess is she was cute and she did all kinds of fun songs, but she kind of had this nasal voice. And after 3 years of that, you probably didn't want to hear that anymore. But this one is a Helen Kane song, Button Up Your Overcoat.
She was a boo-boo-doo girl.
Yeah, she was the boo-boo-doo. So it goes like this. I'll start it out with my nasal voice. Listen, big boy, now that I got you paid. Goodness, but I'm afraid something's gonna happen to ya. Listen, big boy, you got me hooked somehow. I tried, I should lose you now. Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Oh, we did not move every day, get the deadline free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me.
Be careful crossing streets. Don't eat meats. Cut out sweets.
You'll get paid and when you come home, keep away from the language when you're on the street. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. When you saw some tropic pop, you used to blow a seed. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me.
Don't sit on the morning stand. Or on nails. Or thoroughbreds.
You'll get paid and when you come home.
Don't go out to college boys when you're on the street.
Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me.
Or wear your flannel underwear when you climb a
Of
tree.
course.
Take good care of yourself.
You belong to me.
Steer clear of frozen ponds. Bronze-eyed nuts. Socks and bonds.
You'll get paid and when you're back home. Take the smooth out of your coffee when you're drinking tea. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. You belong to me. So that was Helen King. Flannel underwear.
Yeah.
Must have been really popular in the 20s because we're going to do another song that mentions flannel underwear.
Oh, yeah.
And this one, I think, was the very end of the 20s, probably 29, 30. You want to do that one? It's a love song about insects.
Yeah, is there flannel underwear?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to do another one with flannel underwear, just so you know that we're not making this up.
This is from an early movie, sound movie. Sound came in full movie was 1927. This a few years later, and it was a science fiction musical comedy. And it was called Let's Imagine. And the music was from some of the best songwriters at the time. That was DeSilva, Brown, and Henderson, who'd written zillions of other great songs like
Life is just a bullet.
yeah, that kind of stuff. And here was a song that espoused having love for all creatures on this earth, no matter how humble they might be, that we should love them all because, well, the song will explain why.
And in this song, which is called Never Swan Fly,
We also learned from Westen.
we learned this from Jim Weston's, you probably do recognize it. They talk about in the song, never spray a mitt with a great big can of Flit. Do you remember Flit?
No.
Does anyone remember Flit? Some of you remember Flit. Good. So it was a red, like a big red can, but it was this kind of circle.
Oh, little pump.
And then you pumped it and you killed the bugs.
The Black Flag had something like that.
Before aerosol sprays, you had a,
Yeah.
so that was, anyway, it mentions Flit. It also mentions flannel underwear.
And mentions is a clever rhyme involving it, the it girl. Was it Clara Bow back in silent movies? Okay. So that's Love has made me tender, I now appreciate every little creature on this earth that has a name. Once I knew crickets, I couldn't stand a bee. Now here is a motto that I follow faithfully.
Never saw a fly, he may love another fly. He may sit with her and sigh the way I do with you.
Harm a flea, he may have a favorite shoe that he bounces on his knees will flee like
Never stop a bee if he's going anywhere.
or you may be including some terrific love affair.
Be careful, don't
Step on an ant in the middle of the pant. He may want to, but he can't, the way I do with you.
I'm the same as you are. Tears come to my eyes when I see professors chasing helpless butterflies. Fishermen are hateful, they lead a wicked life. Every day they separate, some husband from his wife.
Oh, never saw a fly. He may love another fly. He may sit with her and sigh the way I do with you.
Never spray a knit with a great big can of Flit. He may think some knit has it, the way I do with you.
Never stop a bee if he is going anywhere.
He may have a date in someone's flannel underwear. Be careful, don't you dare to stray. Mosquitoes crawling away. He may want to make hay, the way I do with you. Oh, never saw a fly.
this recorded song from the 20s. And as a matter of fact, there's one record which came out at the very end of, I think, 1927, but all through 28 really dominated the hit parade. Became the best-selling record of all time until the early 40s when a young whippersnapper by the name of Bing Crosby did White Christmas. And but this song, lasted a long time. It was when it was recorded by one of the premier crooners, early crooners, a fellow by the name of Gene Austin. It was already, the song was a few years old, but was not a hit. And he wanted to record it so badly. And it was a long story. He was fighting with the record producers, the monkey mucks of the company, and they didn't particularly want him doing this. They had their own numbers for him. He made a deal with them. He would do their songs if they would let him record this number. Came the recording time, and all of a sudden they finished the regular numbers, and he's ready to do this. And the band picks up and they're leaving. He says, "Where are you going?" He says, "We have a gig. We have to get out of here." And he looked around the studio, and there was a song plugger who could play a little bit of piano. There was a fellow there who was an agent who was known for doing bird whistles. And there was some fellow who actually played the cello. And he got this motley group together, and they performed it, and they had this enormous hit. And we'll tell you a little bit more about it after Judy starts.
I have to tell them what it is, because they have the alphabetical listing, they can.
Oh, it begins with M.
Begins with that.
Drive to Heaven. That was the most popular song until 1940. From what, 28 when it was recorded?
It was recorded late 27, but a big hit all through 1928.
And we'll do it with the verses.
So Gene Austin, pretty much unknown nowadays, but in his whole career sold, I think, close to 100 million records. And he was sort of blown out of the water when when Bing Crosby and those kind of baritones came around in the around 1930. But Gene Austin had a successful career, retired to Las Vegas later. He was still recording through the 30s, even early 40s. And he was known for having a parrot in his house, and all visitors were greeted with the parrot squawking, "When whippoorwills call, an evening is nigh, we'll hurry to my own heaven." And then the bird would finish up with, "Why don't we sell this damn bird?"
By the way, how many of you have never been to the Western Music Association convention? Well, let me just encourage you, after you're finished here, to wander the hallways and visit the people who are the wonderful, wonderful musicians who play here. They're from all over the United States. They're the best of the best. They come here because it's their award convention, and we have just such a wonderful opportunity to hear such incredible Western music. The first time we came was 2008. We didn't know one song or one person from another, and we've met the most nicest people. They become our friends. We're friends on Facebook. We see each other. We say howdy. You know, it's just a wonderful convention. So I encourage you, even if you can't stay today, come back tomorrow. Come back on Saturday. Everything during the day is free, and it's just really a lot of fun. And now I'm going to tell you about an annoying ukulele player.
Not Judy.
Well, this can be annoying, but I'll try to muffle it. This is about a fellow who loved to play the ukulele, but he had a few problems. He played in an apartment house with very thin walls. And he played all the time, which would have been probably okay if he knew more than one song.
And he played all night long.
On his ukulele. And it's called Crazy Words, Crazy Tune. Another song that we first heard by the Jim Queskin Jug Band.
He called it Washington Valley Fort.
But we call it, but the real name is, are we ready? This would be great on the washboard. I can't get anybody to play the washboard. You just sort of put those cymbals on and you just make noise. Oh, good. There we go. Those are really nice cymbals, by the way. They're adjustable. If Ann Leonard could do it, you know, then you can do it. So while he's getting ready, because he's going to have a solo at some point, Michael and I will start to play it.
There's a guy I'd like to kill. If he doesn't stop, I will.
Cause he lives next door to me, and he keeps me up to date. His ukulele and this funny melody. Crazy words, crazy
dance.
Okay.
The
Black
dance
Bomb,
that followed
yeah.
the Charleston.
It really incorporated a lot of the Charleston kind of steps, and it was just somebody was cashing in on, they wrote a new song, but it was largely the Charleston.
Okay. So we have 15 minutes left, and I
don't know what you want to play, but, okay, and also, we're gonna play a few more, but there are some sheet music here you can look at if you want to see what the sheet music looked like in the 20s. And if you have any questions, of course, you can talk to us. And what else? And if you're not on my email, is anybody here not on my, local, who's not on my email list? You probably want to get on it because I send out information about music happenings in the state that you might not normally hear about.
Pretty much all acoustic music, yeah.
Okay, we're into Blackbird?
Yeah.
Bye bye Blackbird.
This was a big song from 1926, and various interpretations, but in general, I think Blackbird were sort of a down mood, and Bluebird was like a bluebird of happiness, so.
Would you like me to take your washboard, ma'am, or do you want to wash some clothes with it? Okay, good.
I'm not gonna watch.
Has anybody ever washed any clothes on the washboard?
We've had, yeah.
Good, good, okay, yeah, I know Anna has, okay. Blackbird, blackbird, singing the blues all day, right outside of my door. Blackbird, blackbird, what do I hear you say? There's no sunshine in the store. All through the winter, you run around. Now I begin to feel overbound. Blackbird, blackbird, gotta be on my way, where there's sunshine in the roar.
Back up on my journey, here I go, singing low.
There's somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so sweet.
No wonder can love and understand me.
Oh, what are those stories they all me?
So big my bed and learn to like,
I will lie late tonight, blackbird, bye-bye. Bluebird, bluebird, calling me far away. I've been longing for you. Bluebird, bluebird, what do I hear you say? Skies are turning blue. I'm like a flower that's fading here, and every hour is one long tear. Bluebird, bluebird, this is my lucky day, when all my dreams will come true. I've got all I care to know, here I go, singing low. There's somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is she. No wonder can love and understand me. Oh, what marvelous stories they all handy. So make my bed and find the light, I will ride late tonight, blackbird, 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 bye-bye.
That's your washboard.
So the anybody have a basketball here? We're gonna do Sweet Georgia Brown. So that was this is a 20's tune, but it was recording, I think, from about 1951. It was basically adopted by the Harlem Globetrotters. And so anytime you hear the melody, everybody, they picture
And
somebody.
then we're going to finish with an Irving Berlin waltz, and then we'll open it up for questions. I don't know if this room is going to be used after we're finished, but feel free to come up and say hi. We're the Muldawers. My website, once again, is banjojudy.com. And anyway, here we go. Let's do
And
the
Slim Edelman will be taking a break on this one. So.
Okay.
Kiev.
Not much.
It's been said she knocks dead when she lays down. Since she came by his name now, she puts it down. Down love, she can't get off. Love, she ain't met. Georgia treasure, Georgia treasure, sweet Georgia Brown.
Let's take it.
Oh, you played it first.
I'm going to let you.
Sorry, I went.
Okay, well, sort of.
Oh, sorry.
Dr. Coach, you didn't play the first last time.
I don't know what we're doing.
Hit the chorus.
wonderful
I was
song.
going to tell him one more thing about that.
What?
If you didn't pick up on it, she was, I guess, what's the current, is there a sex worker? Is that the current term? But all those tips, the porter slips to Sweet Georgia Brown. She knew pretty much all the guys in towns.
So these booklets are yours to keep if you want to learn some of these songs. I've got, on my website, I have hundreds of songs from the Tin Pan Alley era, and I put them in a key that I can sing in. If you're a ukulele player, what's really frustrating for many is that most of the ukulele instruction books are written by men with very deep voices, and I can never sing in those keys. But this one is an Irving Berlin waltz that we're going to end with that he wrote in the year 1925, and he wrote it as an engagement present when he proposed to his future wife, Ellen McKay. Irving Berlin had been married in the year 1912, and he went to Cuba on his honeymoon with his young 19-year-old bride, who passed away 3 months later because she contracted typhoid fever when they went to Cuba for their honeymoon, and there were no antibiotics. And He was alone from 1912 until 1926 when he remarried and he married Ella McKay. And he presented this song to her as an engagement gift. And that meant she had the rights and the royalties to the song even if she didn't marry him. But she did, and anyway, they had a 64-year marriage, and she passed away before he did. He lived to be 101. I remember. It's always with the verses. Everything went wrong, and the whole day long I'd feel so. For the longest while, I forget to smile, and I now that my blue days have passed, now that I found you at last,
I'll be loving you always with love that's true, always. Days may not be fair, always. That's when I'll be there, always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always.
dreams will all come true, growing old with you, and time will fly. Sharing each day more than the day before, till spring rolls by. Then when the spring days are gone, then will my love linger on. I'll be loving you
Always, with love that's true, always, with the things you plan, need a helping hand, I will understand, always, always, days may not be fair, always. That's when I'll be there, always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but Any questions? We're willing to stay around for another.
Nobody coming in after
Okay,
this?
good.
No, nobody's
Stick
coming in.
around.
Okay, over here.
But another hand for.
And don't forget to watch everybody else. I mean, the music here is just phenomenal, and we really appreciate everybody who came here to hear us today. And we'll be around because we don't have a room yet.
I saw her singing. I think she's, not in the town. Judy and Pink, you could always go home. In Pink, you could always go home.
I gotta.
That was great, thank you. Thank you for these things. I'm John Gensler. I just came last year and discovered this.
This is fun.
Oh, it is so much fun. And Darlene, oh, she's like, oh, something's going on right now.
I need to turn up my. If
I wanted to ask you to. My cousin, she entertains the senior centers and she plays the ukulele, great voice. And she played Bicycle Hill for two,
Yeah.
which you know, of course.
Right. Of course.
And then the second verse, that's later on. What is that? That Bicycle Hill for two.
That's in the 90s.
Oh, not that far. But that second verse, no, but I'll get on it.
There's a ton of waltz
Send me an email. I forgot to put my email on that.
So from 1890 and gradually, as ragtime took over in the early 20th century, kind of squeezed out. Even there was a waltz, that was written in the 20s.
Yeah, they're
But
like
I
10
have a book that
one or two.
should come around now. And there was the second verse to it, where she responds to that. You know this.
Well, I don't know.
Excuse me, do you have $10? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I don't know the one.
Okay.
But don't mind us.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I have no clue. I learned I just go to the grocery store with my wallet and my credit card. Yeah, that's fine. That's great. I love that triangle. You can play that. You find a lot of people play the mini washboard for the
All I
Cajun.
have is a thought.
Okay, wait,
I didn't even think to bring it to you.
I'm sorry, but you can just take one.
I have two
She's
tens.
got 2 tens, so she'll give you 20. It's okay. So give her one.
Give them both to her, and how are we working against 20, and then she pays the 10.
And then we get the 10. Okay, we got this.
Oh, wait, somebody
No, that's
short.
right.
You get the, she gets the 10.
She gets the 10, or the 20.
And I have a 10 in my account. It's like people might have a draw.
So the last
It's
time
on
I
that
was
On that picture.
quite a while back. And you know my friend from
Yeah. And what, tell me again your name? And Roe, yeah, beautiful. Yeah, Mike is a really good, in fact, I talked to Michael, he smells so beautiful. That's right, let me take the picture, because I do this with Michael all the time. I take pictures of people who say, I know Michael, and I'm like, okay, well, I hope we got this thing